Hello travellers, and if this video looks familiar to you, then you probably caught it on Tuesday when it was first released. However, unfortunately after that, I got a lovely message from the delightful Hoopu pointing out that we'd made a couple of errors, and yeah, hands in the air, we did. These things happen. Rather than just putting some note on social media, I thought it was much better to actually correct the video, put it out again. So if you have watched this video before, I'm not going to make you watch it again. If you are watching this for the first time, a quick bit of spoilers coming, well, not spoilers, because they've been taken out of the video, but essentially there were 2 points that Hoopu raised, if you saw this video previously. The first was, the minor one was that the packs which are being released to follow on from the Winds from the North will be separate packs. So you will not be getting your Orc Hunters in with Bucklermen. They will be a separate pack. So this is good. Don't have to split and share. Much more convenient. The second point, somewhat more importantly, is that when Carlos answered the question about the Elderbarth, about the Scions, and said that they would be in the Adventures, Warcrow Adventures board game. When Carlos answered the question in the Q&A and said that the Elderbarth, the Scions, would only be in the board game, Warcrow Adventures, and that was the starter set, that's only to begin with. As Vitruccio pointed out in the comment section, somewhat hopefully at the time, hopefully they'll bring out a starter set separately for the Scions later. Hoopu has confirmed that that is the plan. So we're only getting them in the Adventures board game to start with. Later they'll be released along with the rest in their own little battle box, little starter army. So that does mean that you've got to make a choice. If you're planning to not buy Adventures and hold on to buy the starter box later, then that means that you won't get the limited edition miniature that comes with the cards for Elderbarth that's coming after Adventures. If you haven't seen the video already, you'll see what I mean in a minute. You have a decision to make if you're a Scions player. But apologies to the CB team for those errors. Couldn't have foreseen them, but apologies anyway. And if you have seen the video before, I've essentially just sliced out those sections where I talked about that. Everything else is the same, so you're free to go. But if you haven't seen this video before, then please hang around, watch the rest. There's some exciting stuff ahead. Warcrow players, put away the tarot cards, stop rubbing your crystal balls. We might just have a bit of a release schedule. Welcome to the Dice Gods, my name is Hydra, and travellers, we are back again in the world of Warcrow, and today with much exciting news. For those of you who missed it, this last weekend we had the GenCon Seminar, where a whole load of stuff was revealed for Warcrow, which, yeah, I've got to be honest, there wasn't a lot of detail of specific dates, so if you're waiting for specific dates, it's going to be a bit hand-wavy vague, but there are some indications. But there was a lot of information. We know some miniatures, when they're coming, all this kind of stuff. Let's start off talking about the Warcrow seminar information that was released online. Now, if you are new to Corvus Belli, or you're new to Wargaming, or yeah, you've just not seen this kind of thing before, every year at GenCon, which is an event in the US, it's a big exhibition and wargaming event, you also get Corvus Belli doing their annual sort of big blowout seminar where they talk about all the good stuff that's coming up. We normally get the big announcements there, a new army, a new battle box, all this kind of thing. So historically for Infinity. Now that Warcrow's here, that's going to be joining the fun too. So on an annual basis, and probably GenCon and also Adepticon, which is another big US exhibition that happens in March. We're probably going to get seminars at both of those with these big announcements. Will there be other ones? I don't know. But if you've not seen it before, these big events, you'll hear about some hype beforehand, then they'll normally release a version of the seminar online, which will be shot in their studio. And then we'll get the actual one released on the day, which is done live, where there tends to be more information, and you also get a Q&A afterwards. And the Q&A is sometimes where the meaty stuff is. For me, that's true today, actually. The video that came out with Hoopu, genius that she is, was really interesting but light on detail, and some of the stuff we got in the Q&A, yeah, that gave some more meat on the bones, and was very interesting. So let's dive into it and run through the stuff that we got from Hoopu and the other bits and pieces as well. And let's start with this, the schedule. Obviously the hype train has now left the station and we are hurtling down the road, down the rails. Lots of people are starting to get their battle pack. They're starting to pick up wins from the north. We're seeing pictures of people putting miniatures together and playing games, and all the good stuff is happening. As we discussed in the video last week, we then get Beyond Wins from the North. That's all coming. That's September, as I understand it. We should be able to pick that one up, so that's great. Then we have in this diagram Warcrow Adventures. If you've not heard of that, that is a board game, effectively a dungeon crawler set in the world of Warcrow. That was a Kickstarter a couple of years ago. It's being delivered shortly, soon, TM, and that will contain that box will contain scions. And a whole load of characters which will fit into different factions within the Warcrow, the Warcrow world, the Wargame Warcrow. So that's dropping next. We're then going to get the Yaldabaoth or Scions card set. So the Warcrow Adventures box contains, as you can see here, all of the different Scions miniatures, including the Red Caps, which is a sub-faction effectively of Scions, but you won't get in the Warcrow Adventures board game the cards to play the war game. So the board game Adventures won't have the war game stuff in it. So then you can pick up a card set which will give you all the cards you need to play the war game. Will come with an exclusive miniature. So that's going to happen. So then Yaldabaoth Scions, the good guys, will be playable inside the game, which is fantastic. We're then going to get a new faction release, the army app will drop, and then the competitive scene, so tournaments, will kick off. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about here because they're kind of important. We'll do it in reverse order. The new faction release, I believe that Carlos in the Q&A session indicated that would be Adepticon next year. So that would be March next year that new faction will come. Don't quote me on that, but that was my understanding of what he said. Which new faction it will be, we don't know, but it would appear that it's going to drop around Adepticon. So that's good news. That's March next year. We've got to go that far. So what, 5 months, if that? But as you'll see in a minute, we've got lots of stuff coming in. Next, and diving back in with Warcrow Adventures for a minute. Inside Warcrow Adventures, as I mentioned, you have a whole load of different characters. We are going to get cards for those to be playable inside of the war game, downloadable for free from Corvus Belli. This is a nice touch. So you've got 6 characters which span, we've got 2 from Northern Tribes there, we've got Mount Haven, we've got, everybody's there. Everybody is present. So yeah, if you pick up the board game, if you pick up the Dungeon Crawler, Warcrow Adventures, then you'll be able to get some utility for free with those in the war game, which is nice. We like this. This is a good touch. Next up, I want to talk about starter sets for a second, because something that we saw in the seminar was what I believe to be the starter sets, or most of the starter sets for the other factions that we haven't seen. So with Scions coming in the Adventures box, we have Hegemony and we have Northern Tribes. Those are both in the Wins from the North box. We have our starter sets for those 3. The other 3, we kind of haven't really had them sort of expressly seen. There were 3 images shown in the video by Hoopu, which from what I can see, they would be our starter sets. So let's have a look at them. Here's Feudum. I mean, they're gorgeous, let's be honest, it's Feudum. They are lovely. If only they were nice people too, but they're not, but here we are. So that's Feudum. Then we have the Mount Haven Dwarves with a little scribe person, and yeah. These miniatures we have seen before, but I don't think we've seen them expressly sort of bundled up like this. And we're looking at sort of between 5 and 6 miniatures. If I jump onto Sienna now, you'll see there's 6 miniatures in this set rather than the 5 that were in the other 2. Will there be points balanced? Are there ones missing from those other 2? I don't know. But I think if you take these as a guideline as to what the starter sets will look like for those factions, yeah, you've got a solid grounding on what's coming up. So that's really cool. I think they look very nice. I think they're very lovely. We don't necessarily have the full information of which is next because, as I say, we've been indicated that we're going to get a new starter set in Adepticon. That's my understanding, but we don't know which. Which of these 3 it will be, I couldn't tell you. But I think they're all worth the wait. So, yeah, gorgeous. I don't need all of them. I keep telling myself that. I will believe it at some point. Next up, the Army app is confirmed to be coming. Again, if you haven't seen this before, Corvus Belli produce a free online tool for Infinity, which is where you build your army list, so you put together your force. For Warcrow, we're going to get an army app where we can put together our companies to play the game. It's going to be free online and also apparently a download as well. That's in development, but it isn't here yet. So that is a coming soon TM as well, but it is on the way, which is good news. I spend more time than is either rational or sensible tinkering around with lists in the Infinity Army app. So, you know, when I'm having downtime from that, I can spend time in the Warcrow app. Yes. Send help. Anyway, so that's coming. This is all good news. This is all positive news. Right, now we get into the exciting bit. This is the monthly releases for effectively the forces that you have in Winds from the North. So this is building on the Northern Tribes and the Hegemony of Embersig. Yeah. So each of the options that you see here, like with Bulwarks and the Tundra Marauders, Bulwarks are for Hegemony and the Tundra Marauders are for Northern Tribes, and that's true all the way through here. Now this release schedule is over the next year, so I would assume up to the hype train starting for Gen Con, which will probably be around July. So I'm guessing we're going to see these all within the next sort of June time of next year, maybe sooner. Interspace with other things. This isn't apparently everything that's coming. This is just the stuff that could be discussed. So let's run through these and what we know. The information that I've got here, some of this is wild speculation. Some of this is fever dreamed happiness. And a lot of the information is actually drawn from the rulebook and the lore that we find inside of there. So first of all, we're going to get the Bulwarks and the Tundra Marauders. So the Bulwarks are elite infantry. They've got a Ransir pole arm. So what I'm guessing we're looking at here is some slower, harder hitting support units for the Bucklermen. So I'm expecting some chunky dudes here who do some serious long range pokey damage basically with their pole arms. Next to them, you've got the Tundra Marauders. These guys are infiltrating Varank scouts. So sneaky deployment, here we come. They also have caltrops, which are essentially a deployable trap. Think what we saw with the Pioneers and the Beyond box. That would be my estimation for that. The Officers Pack. Now this is speculation. It's going to be bonkers. So I think a fairly safe bet is a Hetman and a Wrathmane. So those are the generic versions of Drago and Alborg, the leader characters from Winds from the North. We actually have the cards for the Hetman and the Wrathmane in Winds from the North, so it makes sense that pretty soon we can get the miniatures as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this also included like the Corporal and or Strategos for Hegemony, because these are connected, these are named individuals that are connected to the chain of command in a company. So it would kind of make sense for Hegemony to have those, but no real clarity on what they do at this point. For the Orcs, the equivalent would be a Contender, who is a challenger for the Wrathmane's position. That makes a logical thing to go in with the Wrathmane in the box. And potentially Lotta, she's the leader of the Punishment Crew and a character. Maybe she'll come separately, I don't know. But that would make sense for the Officers Pack. I think the Hetman and the Wrathmane are a shoe-in for that pack, but what else, I couldn't tell you. Aggressors and Battle Scarred. So aggressors use a two-handed heavy sword to smash people into giving up, basically. So that's nice. It feels like there's some synergy with those in the Bulwarks. There's it's wild speculation, but the lore talks in the aggressors talks about the bulwarks, and then the bulwarks talks about the aggressors. So I think that they are a synergy unit, maybe even to a rules level. Maybe we'll see some type of, when they're working together, sort of triggering activations. If something happens to this one, this happens over there, but I don't know. Battle Scarred are veteran orcs who've basically nearly died a lot, and from that they've learned to be intelligent, controlled fighters, and are imbued with deep cunning. So cunning that they actually carry shields. Who'd have thought? Orcs with shields, whatever next. Then we have Bucklermen and Orc Hunters, so more cheap infantry, same as we get in the Winds of the North box. Will they be the same sculpts? Probably, but I'd love it if they were different. That would be really cool if they were a bit different, but who knows. Moving on, we get to the Arquebuses and the Ice Archers, ranged doom for both sides here. The Arquebuses, they have long rifles basically, so you're looking at bigger, I'm guessing longer range. They have a Pavis, I think I'm saying that right, which is a kind of a shield that they can ram into the ground to use as cover. So essentially stick it in the ground and then shoot round it. Assuming that they're using the sort of historical context of that, which Corvus Belli normally do. So I'd imagine that our Arquebuses are kind of take position, go into combat mode, and then start blatting away at long range. Who else do we know that blats away at long range? That could maybe... anyway, it's by the by. Ice Archers are Varank, so that is another set of Varank goodness that we're getting in with the Tundra Marauders, and then we've got these, you know, got the skin changes, and we've got the big man himself with the axe. We're starting to get to a viable Varank army here, which I know a lot of you guys wanted, a Varank pure company, which would be cool. So Ice Archers, Varank. So what specifically do you want with a name like that? They shoot arrows which freeze people, immobilizing them or freezing them in the spot. So that sounds nice. Maybe that's why their skin's blue. Maybe arrow making disasters. Who knows? But yeah, so some ranged options for both Hegemony and for Northern Tribes there. Then we have the Sport Pack. This could also be with the Strategic Spears and a unit called the Aid, which is an Astari elf who can speak telepathically to the rest of the army and aid coordination. So I think that sounds like an incredible buffing unit, which sounds a bit like support. So yeah, maybe that's an option. For the Northern Tribes, a shoo-in would be the Varank Tattooist, who is essentially a healer from what we can see from the lore, and then maybe Lotta goes in there. I don't know. That's, again, wild speculation, but that seems to make sense from my perspective. After that, we have a whole set of everything being awesome, which is just lovely. That's just phenomenal. Like a bit of awesome. Yeah, so those are the next year, air quotes, of releases that we're getting for Warcrow, specifically for the two boxes, the two forces in Winds from the North. We also heard from the Q&A at GenCon that they didn't actually have information on new scenarios yet for the game, so they don't have those yet. It may well be that we'll be seeing new scenarios dropping in around when the competitive tournament side of things come out. Now, they did say that a lot of that will depend on the community and the community's drive towards getting that kind of thing. So the more we engage, the more that we do this kind of stuff, the more quickly we're going to get the competitive side of things. Now, if you're not a competitive player, I get it, that's fine. But I would say that the tournament system will come with a new set of scenarios. So when the tournament system kicks off, you'll have new ways to play. You don't need to go to tournaments to use it. Assuming they follow the same system they do with Infinity, there'll be free downloads in a PDF that change annually with different ways to play, different objectives and all this kind of stuff, and probably narrative heavy kind of stuff, because that's very much the focus of Warcrow. So yeah, the sooner the tournament community kicks off, the sooner we're all going to get nice new scenarios that we can play around with. So that's kind of cool. Carl's also dropped in that future scenarios will want to make use of terrain more. So he cited the CNN and wanting to use terrain for them, integrating that into scenarios. What that means, how that looks, couldn't tell you, but it sounds interesting. I think it also answers a lot of people that, you know, there's been discussions about terrain being not that useful inside of Warcrow, and I don't think that's true. I think where we are at the moment, that may be true because we've got two small forces that charge across the board and smack each other in the face. But when we start getting arquebuses and ice archers and all this kind of good stuff, then I think terrain and its placements can become more important. And if we then add a layer to that where different factions use the terrain to achieve different things, or to affect things in different ways, or to attack the enemy in different ways, or to get buffs or whatever, then terrain suddenly starts becoming a key part. So I would not be surprised if that's the case. For now, that's everything that was fit to print, really, from the GenCon presentation and the video online. It's good. I mean, we don't have specific dates, which is a little bit annoying. It would have been lovely to sit here and say by February, but that's not CB style. And much as I can sit here and go, yeah, you want it, because I do. That's not the way the world works. And it's setting them up for failure. You know, if they sit there and say you're going to have it by April 15th and then there is some type of issue or whatever, then they're going to get yelled at. So I guess I understand that we didn't get specific dates. It's fantastic to know what we have got coming, because, I mean, it's more fuel for the hype train. Everything's on fire. People are screaming with excitement, thankfully. And it looks good. So I think it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it very much. Still intrigued to see what happens next. Looking forward to seeing the miniatures. Oh, speaking of miniatures, have a look at those. So this shot was taken by Colin Brooke, and he posted that on the Facebook group for Warcrow, the global Facebook group for Warcrow. So thank you very much, young man. That is very much appreciated. Yeah, we appear to be looking at some new Varank goodness here. Who would I say that we're looking at? Well, we're definitely not looking at Ice Archers here. I think we can all agree on that one. I think we've got Tundra Marauders here. Do we have any other ones? I don't know. The dude at the back, maybe that's something in the officer's back. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But it looks cool. They were, according to him, the only new miniatures that he noticed that were there for Warcrow. So this is all we get. But how gorgeous are those? The fact we've got more variant coming is good news. If they are Tundra Marauders, they were the guys with the scouts and the traps and all the rest of it. Oh, it's just so pretty. But yeah, what do you guys think of the announcements that we got? What's your favourite? What are you looking forward to the most? What are you looking forward to the least? Give me your wild speculation. Who do you think we're going to get released, if I'm right, at Adepticon? Which faction do you think is going to come first? If you pushed me, I'd put it between Feudum and Siennan. I would. Probably more Feudum. I've just got this feeling, because let's be honest, we're suckers for knights. And especially because we've seen the big eagle do, yeah, it just feels right to me. But who do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you to the channel members. There's 10 of you now. I don't know what you're doing, but I really appreciate it. It really helps. And as ever, Joe Rogers, you little legend, thank you for your support. And the growing number of Patreons as well. Just people all over the place. Fantastic. Loving it. Really helping and really supporting what we're doing. And that's fab. So, please, if you enjoyed the video, like, share, subscribe. And many of you haven't subscribed. I see you. YouTube tells me it does. So please, consider hitting the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you're really enthusiastic. And thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.